I was carving the Christmas ham when my son Michael suddenly slammed his plate down so hard the table shook. The whole room froze. He stood up trembling, pointing at his mother. "Ask her," he said, his voice cracking. "Ask Mom where she was last night." My fork slipped from my hand. Linda stared at him, pale as the tablecloth. Then she whispered, "Michael, don't. Christmas was always the one day I believed our family could hold itself together, even after Linda's diagnosis, even after Michael moved out 2 years earlier, even after my daughter Emily started avoiding home on weekends. I still held on to the idea that December 25th could buy us a few hours of peace. So when Michael raised his voice that night, something inside me sank before I even understood what he meant. It wasn't the words, it was the look on his face, fear mixed with anger, the kind of look a man doesn't wear unless he's seen something he shouldn't have. "Michael," I said softly, "sit down. Let's eat first. We can talk after." He shook his head. "No, Dad, not this time. You need to hear this." Linda's hands were shaking so badly she had to set her glass down before it slipped. She wouldn't meet my eyes. That was the first moment I felt something cold grip the back of my neck. Linda always looked at me when she was scared. But right then she stared at the candles instead, like she was waiting for them to burn out. Emily cleared her throat. "What are you talking about?" "Mom was home. I saw her." Michael turned to her slowly. "Did you?" "Because I didn't see her at home. I saw her at Ridgefield Motel, room 12, at 10:38 p.m. The room fell into a silence so thick, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I looked at Linda again, but this time, she looked away from me entirely. She pulled her napkin onto her lap and pressed her fingers into the fabric, like she was bracing for an impact. "That's enough," Linda said quietly. "Please." Michael stepped back from the table. His chair scraped loudly across the floor. "Dad, I've been trying not to say anything. I tried to handle it on my own. But you deserve to know the truth." "Michael," I said, trying to keep my voice calm, even though my heart was pounding. "You don't accuse your mother of something like that, unless you know exactly what you saw." "I do know," he said. "I followed her. I wanted to make sure she got home safe, because you said she hadn't been feeling well. I didn't expect his voice cracked. I didn't expect to see her meeting someone." My eyes flicked back to Linda. Her face was drawn tight, her lips trembling. She wasn't denying it, not outright. She was just sitting there, breathing too fast, like she was waiting for someone else to speak first. "Mom," Emily whispered, "please say something." Linda pressed her palms flat on the table. "I can't explain it. Not like this. Not with all of you staring at me." She looked at me finally, and her eyes filled with something I didn't recognize. Not guilt, not fear. Something harder, something heavier. "David, please, let's talk privately." Michael shook his head. "No, Dad needs to hear what I saw." I could feel the heat rising in my face. My chest tightened. I stood up slowly, partly because I didn't want to make the situation explode, and partly because sitting there felt like drowning. "All right," I said. "Michael, tell me exactly what happened." He swallowed. "I saw her get out of her car. She looked nervous. She kept checking her phone. Then this man walked up to her. Tall, gray jacket, maybe late 50s. She handed him an envelope, a thick one, and he hugged her. Not a friendly hug, a long one. My stomach twisted, not because of what he said, but because Linda wasn't denying any of it. She just closed her eyes and took one long, slow breath, like she was preparing to confess to something she'd been carrying for years. Then she whispered, "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" Emily said. "Because it sounds pretty bad." Linda pushed her chair back and stood, gripping the table edge. "David, can we go upstairs? Please?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to pull her away from the kids, calm things down, figure this out privately. But something in Michael's expression stopped me. His eyes weren't angry anymore. They were scared. Truly scared, like he wasn't telling me everything yet. "Mom," he said softly, "just tell him the truth. He deserves that." Linda's chin trembled. Then she whispered, "David, the man at the motel wasn't who your son thinks he is. And the envelope wasn't what he believes it was." "Then tell me who he was," I said. She looked at me for a long time before answering. "I can't," she said. "Not yet." Michael exhaled sharply, disgusted. "Dad, she's hiding something huge. I know what I saw." I held up a hand. "Enough. Both of you. Linda, you either tell me right now, or we're not moving from this room." She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked down at her trembling hands. "I wasn't meeting a man," she said. "Finally, I was meeting someone connected to your past." My pulse jumped. "My past." She nodded. "And the envelope, it wasn't money. It was a name." "A name," I repeated. "Whose name?" She looked at me like she was preparing to break something inside me. "Your brother's," she whispered. My blood ran cold. "Linda," I said slowly. "My brother died in 1993. She shook her head. "No, David," she said. "That's what you were told." For a second, I thought I'd misheard her. The room seemed to stretch away from me, like the walls were pulling back, leaving us all standing in some hollow place where the air didn't feel real. Michael's anger collapsed into confusion. Emily covered her mouth. Linda didn't look at any of us. She looked at the centerpiece, the little candle flickering between us, like she needed something steady to hold on to. "Linda," I said quietly, "don't do this. Not tonight. Not like this." But it came out weaker than I intended, as if some part of me already knew she wasn't bluffing. Her voice cracked. "David, your brother didn't die the way you were told. My brother burned to death in that truck, Linda." My throat tightened. I identified what was left. She shook her head slowly. "No, you identified what they told you to identify." Michael blinked hard. "Mom, what are you talking about? Why would anyone lie about that?" Linda's eyes filled again. She sat down because her hands were shaking too hard to stay upright. "Because your father wasn't supposed to know he survived." I felt something inside me shift, like old floorboards giving way under my feet. My brother Mark had been 21, reckless, bright, funny. We'd fought the night he died, or the night he was supposed to have died. A stupid argument about money. I'd told him not to go out. He went anyway. The truck flipped into a ravine on Highway 9. They said there wasn't enough left to salvage. A closed casket, a painful funeral, and no answers. "Linda," I whispered, "if this is some kind of mistake—" "It's not," she said. "I met with someone who knows exactly what happened. Someone who's been looking for you." "Who?" I demanded. She swallowed. "A man working for the state. He said Mark has been alive all these years, in hiding." I stared at her. "Hiding from what?" "That's what he wouldn't tell me," she said. "Not until he could confirm something. He asked me to bring him documents. Proof, records only you would have." Michael exhaled sharply. "So that's what the envelope was." Linda nodded. "Birth certificates. Old bank statements. A safety deposit key. He said Mark requested them." "No," I said immediately. "No, Mark wouldn't disappear for 30 years. He wouldn't leave me. He wouldn't leave our mother like that." Linda looked at me sadly. "David, people do things when they're scared." "Scared of what?" My voice broke. What on earth could make him fake his own death? Michael's face tightened. "Mom, why didn't you tell us sooner?" "Because I didn't want to tell your father something that might not be true." The man said there were complications. Things he needed to verify. He warned me not to involve anyone until he knew more. And then last night, she stopped suddenly. Emily leaned forward. "What happened last night?" Linda pressed her hands together. I saw someone outside our house. The hairs on the back of my neck rose. What do you mean, someone? A man, she whispered, standing by the oak tree across the street, watching the house, not moving, not smoking, just standing. Michael frowned. Did he follow you? She nodded. From the grocery store. He stayed 3 cars behind me all the way home. Why didn't you call me? I said, because I didn't want to worry you until I knew what this was. I thought maybe he was connected to the man I met, or someone connected to Mark. I didn't know. Emily looked toward the window as if expecting to see someone still there. Mom, do you think this is dangerous? Linda wiped her face. I don't know. But I didn't go to the motel last night to meet a stranger for something shameful. I went because your husband's past came knocking on my door, and he wanted answers I didn't have. I sank back into my chair. My chest felt tight. I'd spent my life accepting that Mark's death was the single most painful reality I had to carry. Now my wife was telling me not only that he might be alive, but that someone out there was monitoring us because of it. I rubbed my temples. Who exactly was this man you met? He called himself Robert. She said, he had a badge but he wouldn't let me hold it. He said he worked with a division that handles cases involving witness relocations. My blood ran cold. Witness relocations. Linda looked up at me. David, whatever happened to Mark wasn't an accident. That's what the man implied. He said Mark saw something he wasn't supposed to, something that put his life in danger, and he had to disappear. They staged the wreck to protect him. I shook my head. No, they wouldn't fake an entire accident. They wouldn't put us through that. Linda reached across the table, but I pulled my hand back without meaning to. David, he said, Mark didn't have a choice. He was forced into protection, forced to leave everyone behind. Michael leaned forward. Dad, if this is even partly true, we need to call someone, the police, the FBI. Someone. Linda's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Michael, the man said, not to call anyone. Not yet. He said talking to authorities could draw attention to us, especially if the people who were after Mark are still alive. Emily inhaled sharply. Then who was the man outside the house? The same agency? Or the people after Uncle Mark? Linda didn't answer. She just shook her head slowly. I looked at her, searching for any sign she was lying, exaggerating, or misled. But her shoulders were trembling. Her face was white, and the fear in her eyes wasn't the fear of being caught cheating. No, this was something far colder, something deeper. Linda, I whispered. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She closed her eyes. Because he said there was one more thing he needed before he could tell you anything. One final confirmation. What confirmation? She looked up at me, her voice breaking. He said he needed your DNA. My stomach flipped. And he told me, she continued, that once he had that he could tell you whether your brother was still alive. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The house felt too quiet, like even the refrigerator had stopped humming. I stared at Linda, trying to find my voice, but my thoughts kept spiraling to places I hadn't allowed them to go in 30 years. DNA. Confirmation. My brother alive? It didn't feel possible. It didn't even feel rational. But the way Linda trembled, she wasn't lying. She wasn't capable of hiding fear like that. Why my DNA? I finally asked, my voice barely steady. Linda laced her fingers together. He said they need a direct match sample, something definitive, something that could confirm whether the man who reached out to them is really Mark. Reached out. Michael said, hold on. This Robert guy told you Mark contacted them. She nodded weakly. He said the agency got a message 2 months ago. Someone claiming to be a relocated witness who'd been missing for decades. Someone who insisted they had to speak to their family before it was too late. Emily's voice was small. Too late for what? That's what he wouldn't say, Linda whispered. He said time is running out. For all of us. I pressed my hand to the table to steady myself. Why would Mark contact them after all these years? Why now? Linda's eyes filled again. Robert said Mark's health was failing. They didn't know how long he had left. He insisted he had to speak to you before. Her voice broke. Before he couldn't anymore. The words hit me harder than I expected. The idea of Mark alive, sick, alone, trying to reach me after 3 decades felt like a punch to the ribs. But something wasn't lining up. Something about the timing, the secrecy, the motel meeting. My mind kept circling back to one thing. Why didn't he contact me directly? I asked quietly. Linda swallowed. That's what I asked him. He said Mark wasn't allowed to. Not until his identity was verified. The agency had to be sure it wasn't a trap. A trap? A trap? Michael echoed. What kind of trap involves a man pretending to be your dead brother? The kind, Linda said slowly, where old enemies want to flush out someone who was supposed to stay hidden. I looked at her sharply. Enemies? Linda, what are you talking about? Mark was a mechanic. He fixed cars. He wasn't involved in anything dangerous. She lowered her gaze. David, there are things he never told you. My stomach tightened. No, don't do that. Don't rewrite history. Mark wasn't a criminal. I'm not saying he was, she said, her voice cracking. But he saw something that put him in danger. Something the agency believed could get him killed. Emily leaned forward, her voice trembling. Mom, did this Robert guy tell you what Mark saw? No, Linda whispered. He said he would only discuss details after he confirmed you were willing to help. Help how? I asked. Linda took a deep breath. Give him what he needs, a DNA sample, a few old records, and answer a few questions. I stared at her. What kind of questions? She hesitated too long. Linda, I said, my voice hardening. Tell me. She finally looked up. Questions about the night of the accident, about where you were, who you spoke to. If anyone approached you afterward, Michael frowned. Why would they need that? Linda's voice dropped. Because the man implied Mark didn't disappear by choice. He said someone forced him into that truck. I felt the air leave my lungs. Forced him. As in someone tried to kill him. Someone staged the wreck. My mind raced through old memories, old arguments, old warnings, things I hadn't thought about in years. But before I could form a single question, Emily suddenly turned her head. Wait, she whispered. Mom, why did Robert contact you instead of Dad? The room went still. Linda's breath hitched. She twisted her hands together again. Because he couldn't reach your father. What? I said sharply. Nobody reached out to me. Her eyes filled again. He said they tried, multiple times. I shook my head. That's impossible. I never got any calls. She lowered her gaze. He said someone was intercepting them. A sharp chill ran through me. Intercepting. Who would intercept calls meant for me? Linda closed her eyes. That's why I couldn't tell you sooner, she whispered. Because Robert believes someone close to our family, someone who knows your routines, has been blocking every attempt they've made to reach you. Michael stiffened. Mom, are you saying someone in this house is involved? She hesitated. He didn't say who. He just said to be careful who you trust. Especially now. I looked around the room. At Michael, face pale, jaw tight. At Emily, eyes wide with fear. At Linda, barely able to hold herself together. Christmas dinner sat untouched, cooling in the silence between us. Dad, Michael said, quietly. You can't ignore this. Not after everything Mom just said. I'm not ignoring it, I said. But we need to figure out what's real and what's manipulation. For all we know, this Robert is lying. For all we know, Mom was set up. Linda shook her head. He knew things about you. No one should know. Things you never told the kids. Like what? I asked. She hesitated again. Too long, far too long. Linda, I snapped. What did he say? She lifted her eyes slowly, and when she spoke, her voice was a whisper. He knew about the letter, David. My heartbeat kicked hard. What letter? Michael asked. She kept her eyes on me. The one you got the night before the accident, she said. The letter you burned. Michael looked at me sharply. Emily's eyes widened. Dad, what letter? I felt my mouth go dry. I hadn't spoken of that letter since 1993. I hadn't told a soul, and yet Linda was looking at me with a certainty that made every hair on my arm stand up. I never told anyone about that, I whispered. Not a single person. Linda nodded. I know. So how did he know? I said, my voice barely audible. She took a long breath. Because he said, she whispered. Mark wrote it. The words hit me like a fist. Mark wrote the letter. 31 years ago, I thought that letter burned with the rest of the evidence I wanted to forget. I remembered the night clearly, angry words, a slammed door, a folded envelope marked with his handwriting. I had tucked it into the fireplace and watched it curl into ash. How could it possibly exist again? And why would Robert know about it? Michael leaned forward, his face pale, jaw tight. Dad, are you saying the letter survived? I shook my head slowly. No, it's impossible. I burned it myself. I watched the flames swallow every word. Linda's hands trembled on the table. David, he said. Mark made sure a copy existed. Somewhere, and it was the key to confirming he's alive. The agency only released his identity after verifying it. Emily gasped. Wait, Mark faked his death, knowing you'd think he was gone, and this letter, it was proof? Linda nodded slowly. Yes, but he didn't want anyone to find it until the right time. Robert told me it was dangerous if it got into the wrong hands. Michael slammed his fist lightly on the table. Mom, dangerous how? Who's after him? Who wants him dead? Linda shook her head. I don't know all the details. Robert wouldn't say. Only that Mark was forced into hiding, that the people who tried to kill him might still be out there, watching, waiting. I pressed my hands to my face. I can't believe this. 31 years we've lived, thinking he was gone. All this time, and now we find out someone's been manipulating everything. Emily leaned forward, voice trembling. Dad, what do we do? If Mark is alive, we have to help him. We can't just sit here. Linda glanced at me. Her eyes filled with fear. David, the man said. Any mistake could put him at risk, any wrong move, and it could blow everything. Robert said even contacting him directly before verification could be fatal. I swallowed hard. So we sit here and wait? No, Linda said, shaking her head. We follow the instructions. We get the documents. We give them the DNA. That's it. That's all we do until Robert tells us what to do next. Michael groaned, frustrated. That's insane. How are we supposed to just hand over DNA and trust some stranger on a motel visit? Linda gave him a long, steady look. Because David, he knows you. He knows all of you. And if we don't do it his way, Mark could be gone for good. Or worse. I ran a hand over my face. The room was silent, except for the hum of the heater. Outside, the faint sound of car tires crunching over snow made me tense. I kept expecting to see a shadow, to see someone standing there, watching. Robert's words about someone being close enough to intercept, they rang in my mind. What if it's someone in our own neighborhood? Michael said quietly. Almost to himself. Someone who's been watching us all these years. Linda's lips tightened. That's why he insisted on secrecy. That's why he trusted me to approach you first. He said he couldn't risk involving anyone else too soon. Not until everything was verified. I leaned back, staring at the flickering candles. I don't know if I can do this, I admitted. I can't risk losing Mark again. But at the same time, I don't know who to trust. Emily reached across the table and took my hand. Dad, we have to. This isn't just about trust. This is Mark. He's alive. We can't waste time doubting ourselves. I nodded slowly, my mind spinning. 31 years of grief, of unanswered questions, of pain I thought I'd buried. And now, the possibility that my brother was alive, that someone had kept him hidden all these years, that someone was still watching, it was overwhelming. Linda's voice cut through my thoughts. David, Michael, Emily, we start tonight. Gather everything Robert mentioned. The birth certificates, the old bank statements, the safety deposit key. We prepare. Nothing else. No calls, no messages, no mistakes. Michael exhaled sharply. So we do it your way. Whatever that means. I nodded again. Yes, we do it. But I swear, if anything happens to him, I will make sure whoever is behind this pays. Linda swallowed, her hands still trembling. David, that's why I didn't tell you sooner. I wanted to protect you, protect all of you. But now, it's out of my hands. Emily's voice was barely audible. So, Mark's alive, somewhere out there. And he needs us. I stared at the table, at the untouched Christmas dinner, at the family I thought I knew. And for the first time in decades, I felt that mixture of fear and hope that comes with knowing everything you believed was gone, was a lie. I took a deep breath and said, then we prepare. Tonight we find the truth, and we bring Mark back, no matter what it takes. Linda nodded, a flicker of relief crossing her face. Michael looked determined, and Emily squeezed my hand. Outside the night was quiet again, but I knew it wouldn't stay that way. The snow could hide footsteps, but it couldn't hide secrets. And this secret was about to explode. The house felt different that night. The warm glow of the Christmas lights did little to calm the cold knot in my stomach. Every crick in the floor sounded like a warning. I went to the study and began pulling out old documents, photographs, and anything Mark might have referenced in that mysterious letter. Michael hovered over my shoulder, anxious, muttering questions under his breath about the motel, Robert, and the envelope. Emily stayed close to Linda, helping her gather the papers and the old bank records. The safety deposit key was tucked into a small velvet pouch Linda had kept hidden for decades. I can't believe we're really doing this, Emily whispered, her voice trembling. After all these years, Dad, it's like we're stepping into a story I thought only existed in nightmares. Michael shook his head. Nightmares don't come with instructions, he muttered. We don't even know if this is real. What if we're walking into something worse than grief? I looked at him sharply. We don't have a choice. Mark's alive. Someone out there knows it, and they're watching. We either follow instructions, or we lose him forever. Linda held the velvet pouch tightly, her knuckles white. Robert said timing is critical. If we wait too long, whoever is after Mark could move first. He mentioned an old threat, something tied to the accident. I don't know details, only that he warned me to be careful. I took a deep breath, trying to steady the shaking in my hands. 31 years of believing Mark was gone had hardened me in ways I didn't even recognize. Yet now the vulnerability I'd buried for decades returned tenfold. This wasn't just about Mark. It was about survival, about family, and about confronting truths too long buried. Michael suddenly froze. Dad, the snow? I followed his gaze to the window. Faint footprints were leading up the side of the driveway, stopping just past the oak tree. I swallowed hard. Whoever was outside had been patient, watching us, tracking our movements. Robert's warning echoed in my mind. Someone close enough to intercept. The blood drained from my face. Emily gasped, Mom, it's him, or someone looking for us. Linda shook her head. No, it's too soon. Robert said he would give us a signal. This might be someone else entirely, someone dangerous. I felt a surge of panic. We can't wait here. We need to secure everything and get ready. No mistakes tonight. Michael stepped forward, gripping the edge of the table. "We'll split tasks. Dad, you and I take the documents. Emily and Mom prepare the DNA samples. Lock doors. Check windows. No one leaves the house alone." Linda nodded, trembling, but resolute. "It's the only way." As we moved quickly, the urgency pressing down on us, the weight of the years of lies and secrets settled like stones in my chest. Every rustle outside, every shadow passing by the curtains made my pulse spike. The clock ticked closer to midnight, and with it the tension became unbearable. Emily brought over a small box, filled with syringes, vials, and the paperwork Robert had specified. "Dad, are you sure about this?" she whispered. "What if it's a trap?" I shook my head. "We won't know until we act. The longer we wait, the more dangerous it becomes." Michael returned from the study, holding a stack of papers and photographs. He laid them on the table. "This letter, this is the copy of the one Dad burned," he said, his voice low. "Look, exact handwriting, exact words." I picked up the envelope, feeling the paper's weight in my hands. The words Mark had written all those years ago seemed to leap from the page. "If anything happens to me, David must know the truth. Protect Emily. Protect Michael. Trust no one." My throat tightened. My hands shook. The same letter I'd believed gone forever had resurfaced to pull me back into a world I thought I had left behind. Outside, the footprints hadn't moved. Whoever was there was patient, waiting, watching, waiting for us to make a mistake. I swallowed and locked my jaw. "We do this carefully," I said, my voice firm. "We follow Robert's instructions to the letter. We bring Mark back, and we survive this night." Linda nodded, her eyes steely now, fear replaced by determination. Emily and Michael mirrored her resolve. For the first time that night, I felt a small surge of hope, but I also felt the shadow pressing closer. The undeniable sense that we were being watched, that someone was already one step ahead of us. Minutes later, I heard a faint knock at the front door. Just one. Deliberate, measured. My pulse jumped, and my stomach lurched. Everyone froze. "Don't answer it," Linda whispered urgently. Michael moved toward the window, peering through the blinds. "It's too late," he muttered. "They know we're here." I felt every muscle tighten. 31 years of grief. 31 years of unanswered questions, all converging in this single moment. And yet, despite the fear, despite the danger, despite the uncertainty, one thought dominated my mind. Mark was alive. Somewhere out there, my brother was alive, and I had to reach him before it was too late. I stepped back from the window and turned to my family. "We follow the plan," I said, my voice firm, unwavering. "No mistakes, no shortcuts, and we get Mark home. That's all that matters." The knock came again. Louder this time, more insistent. Linda gripped my arm. "They're not just knocking. They're testing us," Michael whispered, his jaw tight. "Or they're daring us, seeing how far we'll go to follow instructions." I looked at the envelope, at the documents, at the DNA kit. I could feel the weight of the years pressing down on me. And then I realized this night wasn't just about the past. It wasn't about Mark's disappearance or the lies that had haunted us. It was about survival, about trust, about finally facing the truth, no matter how dangerous it might be. I took a deep breath. "We open the door," I said, "but carefully, and we stay together. Everyone stays together." The third knock came, sharp, insistent, demanding. Emily whispered, "Dad, I don't think they're coming alone." I tightened my grip on the envelope. "Then we'll be ready." Outside, the shadows waited, and inside we held our breath. The front door loomed before us, dark and foreboding against the soft glow of the Christmas lights. The knocks had stopped, replaced by a faint scratching, deliberate, as if someone testing whether we were afraid enough to open it. I felt the weight of the envelope in my hand, the DNA kit in my pocket, the stack of documents clutched in Michael's arms, and I knew that stepping through that threshold would be crossing into unknown territory. "Everyone stay close," I said, my voice low, but carrying the authority that had kept my family together through tougher storms than this. Linda pressed herself against my side, Emily grasped my other hand, and Michael moved in front of us, shielding us with his broad frame. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. This was the moment Robert had warned us about, though he hadn't told us exactly what to expect. I reached for the doorknob, my hand trembling, and for a heartbeat, I hesitated. 31 years of believing my brother was gone flashed before my eyes. The funeral, the locked casket, the grief that had defined my life. And now that entire reality was unraveling, beginning with this single moment. A muffled voice called from outside. "David, we're not here to hurt you." The voice was cautious, professional, yet carrying a hint of urgency. My pulse spiked. The cadence sounded familiar, precise. "Step away from the door," Michael whispered. I exhaled and turned toward him. "We can't just ignore it. If this is Robert, we need to verify who it is." Linda nodded. "Do it. But don't open it fully. Look through the peephole." I pressed my eye to the tiny lens and froze. A man, tall, gray coat, hat pulled low, stood on the porch, hands folded in front of him, neutral expression. No weapon visible, but his posture screamed control. The instant recognition hit me. This was the man Linda had described, Robert. "Step back," I muttered to my family. "He has to show ID first." The man's voice came again, calm but urgent. "David Harper, I have confirmation you have the materials. Step outside slowly. We must speak in person. For Mark's safety." I looked at Linda. "This is it," I said. Her nod was barely visible, but I could feel her resolve steadying me. Emily's grip tightened, and Michael's jaw was set. "Fine," I said, speaking louder so everyone could hear me. "We're stepping outside, but don't move unless I say so." We moved as one unit to the door. I opened it just enough to speak through the crack. "ID," I demanded. "Show us your credentials." The man reached into his coat and pulled out a slim badge. The emblem glinted in the porch light. "Federal Witness Protection, confirmed by the agency. My name is Robert, and you have my clearance to verify your brother's identity." I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting. 31 years of grief, lies, secrets, and now this, the possibility that my brother was alive, verified by a man whose words carried authority, I couldn't dismiss. "Step outside slowly," he repeated. I looked at my family. "Are you sure?" Michael stepped forward. "It's now or never. We don't get a second chance." I nodded, keeping my hand tight on Linda's. We opened the door fully and stepped into the cold night. Snow crunched beneath our feet. The man's eyes scanned us quickly, then rested on me. "You have the materials?" he asked. I held up the envelope, the papers, and the DNA kit. All of it. He stepped closer, still keeping a respectful distance. "Good. We need to move quickly. Mark's location is sensitive. Every minute counts. He's alive, but his time is limited. If anyone discovers his presence," his voice dropped. "It could be fatal." Emily gasped. "Oh my God, he's really alive." "Yes," Robert said firmly. "But he's vulnerable, and he's been isolated for decades. If we don't act with precision, he may never come back to you." I felt a sudden surge of anger and fear at once. Anger at the years lost. Fear for my brother's life. "Where is he? Tell me." Robert shook his head. "Not yet. First we verify everything. Step 1, DNA confirmation. Step 2, document review. Only then can we proceed with extraction. And there's one complication." I tensed. Complication. The people who forced him into hiding. They know the protocols. If they suspect Mark is being contacted, they may act. Michael's face went pale, so they're still out there, watching. Robert nodded. Correct. That's why tonight is critical. You follow instructions exactly. One misstep, and the trail goes cold. We may never find him again. Linda's hand shook in mine. David, we can do this. We have to. I nodded, taking a deep breath to steady myself. What's the first step? Robert glanced around, his eyes sharp. We moved the materials inside my vehicle. It's shielded. DNA testing will begin immediately. No one else can be involved. Not neighbors. Not law enforcement. Not friends. This is our window. After that, I'll explain the extraction plan. Michael stepped forward. Then let's move. Fast. Emily looked at me, eyes wide. Dad, are you ready? I nodded. I've been ready my whole life. We followed Robert to a black SUV parked at the end of the driveway. The windows were dark, the engine silent, waiting. The weight of what we were about to do pressed down on us. 31 years of loss, 31 years of waiting, and now the first real step toward bringing Mark back. I opened the back door of the SUV. Inside it was sparse. A small table, a laptop, and a portable DNA analyzer sat ready. Robert's hands were steady, as he directed us to place the documents and DNA kit on the table. Step carefully, he said. Any misplacement, any delay could alert those watching Mark. Once verification is complete, we move immediately. I nodded, feeling every muscle in my body tense. The snow crunched outside. Shadows seemed to flicker along the trees. I couldn't tell if it was just the wind or eyes watching. Let's begin, Robert said. As Emily and Linda started preparing the DNA samples, I felt Michael's hand on my shoulder. Dad, whatever happens, we're together. I swallowed hard. We have to be, I whispered. Because if we fail, Mark may never see us again. Outside, the night held its breath, and inside, the first step toward finding him began. The SUV smelled faintly, of antiseptic and cold leather, the kind of sterile calm that always made me tense. Robert moved like a man trained for danger, precise, deliberate. Place the envelope and papers over here. He instructed. Emily and Linda handed them to him, while Michael and I laid the DNA vials carefully on the table. Every motion felt weighted, like a single misstep could undo everything. Step 1, Robert said, glancing at me, is verification. If the DNA doesn't match, none of this matters. Mark remains at risk. I nodded, feeling a chill. 31 years of believing he was gone, and now everything depended on a small vial of blood. My hand trembled as I adjusted the sample. Emily whispered, Dad, it's okay. It's going to work. Robert's eyes swept the surrounding darkness outside the vehicle. They're watching, he said suddenly. I can't tell you who or how close, but any delay now, and Mark's cover is blown. This isn't just protocol. This is survival. Michael's jaw clenched. You mean someone could attack him tonight? Exactly, Robert said. We have maybe hours before they know he's been contacted. That's why we move fast. I felt the old familiar surge of adrenaline, the same fear and determination that had carried me through decades of grief. This was no longer hypothetical. Mark was alive, and now he was in danger. Every nerve in my body screamed to act. Start the analyzer, Robert said. Emily carefully inserted the DNA sample into the machine. A low hum filled the vehicle. Every second stretched. I could hear the faint tapping of the snow against the SUV, like a countdown to disaster. Robert's voice was calm, but tense. I've already run preliminary checks against the agency's database. Once this confirms, we have hard proof. Then we can move. Michael leaned close, whispering, Dad, do you think he'll recognize us? I swallowed hard. I don't know. 31 years changes a person, But he's my brother, he has to. Linda's hand gripped mine tightly. Whatever happens, David, we stick together, no matter what. The analyzer beeped once, then twice. A green light flashed. Robert's face tightened, but the glimmer of relief was there. Confirmed. He's alive. Full match. Mark Harper. Alive. Emily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Oh my God. He's really alive. I felt a wave of emotions. Relief, disbelief, anger at the years stolen from us. My knees nearly buckled. Where is he? I demanded. Robert shook his head. We move carefully. Extraction can't happen here. Too risky. We need to go to a secure location. I have transport waiting. We leave now. Michael stepped forward, voice low, and the people who are after him. They know he's been contacted, Robert said, his eyes sharp. We have to assume they're already moving. That's why timing is critical. No mistakes. I swallowed. Fine, let's move. We stepped out of the SUV, into the cold night. The snow crunched beneath our boots. Shadows flickered between the trees, fleeting but unmistakable. Someone, or several someones, was watching. My pulse raced, every instinct screamed danger. Robert led us to a second vehicle, a larger armored van. Inside, he said. We drive 10 minutes to a safe house. No one sees us leave. No one follows. I glanced at my family. Emily's face was pale, Michael's tight with focus, Linda's trembling slightly but resolute. I took a deep breath. Everyone ready? Yes, Linda whispered. Yes, Michael said. Yes. Emily said, though fear trembled in her voice. We climbed into the van, doors locking behind us. The engine purred, and we moved into the snowy darkness. I stared out the window, mind racing. 31 years of loss. 31 years of grief. And now, the chance to see my brother alive again. But then a sharp sound snapped my attention. A vehicle skidding on ice behind us. I froze. Shadows followed. 2 headlights, distant but closing fast. Robert's hands tightened on the wheel. They found us, he said. They know he's been contacted. Michael's grip tightened on my arm. Dad, what do we do? Robert didn't answer immediately. He kept his eyes on the road. Voice low and measured. We hold speed, we stay en route. Any panic, and we could lose him forever. They'll try to intercept, but we've prepared for this. The van jolted slightly over an icy patch. I could feel the fear pressing down on me, threatening to crush all reason. But I focused on Linda's hand, on Emily's eyes, on Michael's tense posture. We had to survive this night. For Mark, for family. A shout came from the back of the van. Emily pointed. Headlights. They're gaining. Robert didn't flinch. Stay calm. Brace yourselves. This is only the first wave. Once we reach the safe house, we can strategize, but not before. No sudden moves. Do you understand? We all nodded. Tense, silent, hearts hammering, every shadow outside, every echo of snow under tires, felt like a threat closing in, and yet inside, a glimmer of hope lingered. Mark was alive, and we were moving closer to him, with every heartbeat. Minutes stretched like hours. I thought of the letter again, Mark's handwriting, his voice trapped in ink from decades ago. I thought of the years lost, of the holidays without him, of the pain we'd all carried, and I swore silently, with everything in me, no one would stop me from bringing him home. The van swerved slightly, and Robert's voice cut through sharply. Incoming obstacle. Keep low. We ducked instinctively. I caught a glimpse of headlights skidding on ice, disappearing as quickly as they appeared. My pulse surged. Whoever was following us, they were fast, determined, and dangerous. But we were faster. We had to be. And then Robert's voice, calm but tense, cut through the fear, Safe house ahead. 1 block. I let out a breath. I hadn't realized I was holding, but deep down, I knew this night was far from over. The first step had been taken, verification complete. Mark's life confirmed. But the hunt, the true danger, was only beginning. I looked at my family. Get ready, I whispered. Mark's waiting, and we're not letting anyone stop us. The van turned the corner, headlights cutting through the snowy night, shadows lurking in pursuit. The journey to bring Mark home had begun. The safe house appeared suddenly, a low, nondescript building with snow-dusted windows. From the outside it looked abandoned, like it had been forgotten for decades. But Robert drove smoothly up to the door, cutting the engine and letting the silence press against us like a living thing. My heart pounded so loudly, I thought it might echo across the empty street. Stay inside until I check perimeter, Robert said, voice taut. No one leaves until I give the word. This place is secure, but only for a short window. Michael's hands were shaking, and Emily's eyes were wide with fear. Linda gripped my arm like she was holding on for life. I felt the weight of every decision I'd made, every year of grief, every question left unanswered. 31 years of believing Mark was gone, and now this was the first step toward finding him. Robert disappeared into the darkness outside for what felt like an eternity. I could hear faint crunching of snow, the soft hum of the wind, and then a sharp sound. A door slammed somewhere down the street. My pulse spiked, and Michael gripped my shoulder. They're close, I whispered. Emily gasped. Dad, what if they attack? They won't get through us, I said, more firmly than I felt. Not tonight. Not after everything we've done to get this far. Robert returned, face grave. We're clear for now. You have 10 minutes to secure the materials inside. After that, extraction begins. No mistakes. I nodded. Everyone inside. Bring everything. Lock it down. We hurriedly moved the envelope, the documents, and the DNA kit into a small room Robert had designated. He inspected every corner, sliding his hands over door frames, windows, and locks. Good, he muttered. We're ready. Michael leaned against the wall, exhaling sharply. I can't believe we're doing this. After 31 years, don't think about the past, I said. Think about now. Mark is alive, and we're going to get him back. Emily sat on the floor, hugging her knees. I can't stop shaking. Linda knelt beside her. It's okay, Emily. This is fear, but it's the right kind. It means we care. It means we're human. I looked at them, and something shifted in me. Fear still gripped me, but so did resolve. Robert turned toward us, face serious. Extraction team is inbound. Mark will be with us in less than 30 minutes. Any mistakes, and he could be gone forever. Michael's eyes narrowed. Extraction? What does that mean? He's not walking out on his own, Robert said. He's still in hiding. We need to retrieve him discreetly. That's why timing and secrecy are critical. I swallowed hard. So it's not just a reunion. It's a rescue. Robert nodded. Exactly. And there's something you need to understand. This won't be easy. The people who forced Mark into hiding, they're still active. They'll try to intercept him. Possibly tonight. I felt a chill, and Emily's hand found mine instinctively. Dad, what if we fail? We won't fail, I said firmly. Mark's alive, and we're not letting anything stop us. The minutes ticked by slowly. Outside the snow fell softly, but the tension was thick enough to suffocate. I kept scanning the windows, every shadow, every flicker of movement. Then a sound, a vehicle engine, distant but growing closer. My pulse spiked. Robert? I asked. Voice low. They're here, he said. Eyes narrowing. Extraction team inbound. Stay inside. Lock all doors. No sudden moves. Suddenly the van's sliding door burst open. 2 men in dark tactical gear leapt out, moving fast and silent. My family froze. I stepped in front of them. Wait, Robert shouted. They're with us. Extraction team. I exhaled sharply, relief mixing with adrenaline. Okay. Okay. Let's move. The men directed us quickly, their movements precise and professional. Stay close. Don't speak unless spoken to. Mark's location is volatile. Any alarm and the others could strike. We followed them through a series of winding paths behind the safe house, snow crunching underfoot, hearts hammering. Every shadow, every sound felt like a threat. And then we saw him, Mark, 31 years older, but unmistakably him. He was crouched near the tree line, hood pulled low, eyes scanning the area. The instant I saw him, my knees nearly buckled. The years of grief, anger, and unanswered questions surged up, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. David, Mark's voice cracked, barely audible. Is it really you? Yes, I whispered, tears blurring my vision. It's me. It's all of us. We're here. We're bringing you home. Michael and Emily rushed forward and I followed, keeping close. Robert and the extraction team moved ahead, scanning the perimeter, alert for any threats. Mark stood slowly, disbelief and relief mixing on his face. I didn't think I'd see this day. Not like this. Linda stepped forward, voice trembling. Mark, we never gave up on you. Not once. A distant sound snapped us back to reality. A vehicle approaching fast, tires crunching over the snow. Robert's head snapped toward the sound. They've found us. Move, in that moment. All fear and hope collided. The reunion was real, but danger pressed in, and I realized the nightmare wasn't over. It had just begun. Mark looked at me, eyes wide. David, what do we do now? I gripped his arm. We survive together. Whatever it takes. Robert barked instructions. Double time. Secure the perimeter. Move to extraction point now. The snow around us seemed alive. Shadows stretching. Danger closing in. And for the first time in 31 years, I felt the raw, desperate truth. Nothing could prepare us for what was coming next. The snowstorm outside felt heavier, sharper, as if the world itself knew the danger we were in. The extraction team guided us quickly, Mark moving cautiously beside me. Every crunch of snow beneath our feet made my pulse spike. 31 years of loss, grief, and unanswered questions had led to this exact moment, and I knew nothing could go wrong, or everything would be lost. A shout echoed from the tree line. Stop, don't move. The voice was harsh, angry, full of intent. I froze. So did Mark, and Emily gasped. Clutching my arm, Robert barked orders. Positions. Defensive. Don't engage unless I say. Two figures emerged from the shadows, weapons glinting faintly under the snow-dimmed light. My stomach sank, for these were the ones Robert had warned about. The people who forced Mark into hiding all those years ago. They looked calm, trained, but lethal. David Harper, one of them called. Voice cold. You've taken far too long. Time to end this. I swallowed hard. Mark is coming with us. You won't harm him. The man laughed, low and bitter. We've been waiting for this night, and now we have him in your hands. Step aside, or everyone dies. Mark tightened his grip on my arm. David, don't let them. I cut him off, voice firm. Mark, stay behind me. Everyone stay close. Trust Robert. Robert signaled, and the extraction team moved with swift precision, creating a barrier between us and the threat. I felt adrenaline coursing through my veins like fire. 31 years of nightmares, and here we were, facing the people who had stolen decades from us. Move, Robert shouted. The team surged forward. Snow flew as tension exploded into motion. A struggle erupted. Shouts, rapid footsteps, the metallic clash of tools against defenses. I kept Mark close, pushing him toward the vehicle. Emily and Michael right behind. One of the attackers lunged at me, I sidestepped instinctively, heart hammering, and grabbed a snow-laden branch from the ground, using it to knock him back. He stumbled, snarling, but didn't give up. "David, hurry!" Robert shouted. I didn't need to be told twice. I guided Mark into the rear of the armored van. Emily and Michael followed, Linda right behind. The doors slammed shut. I could hear the attackers shouting, but Robert engaged the engine, tires spinning, snow spraying. Inside, Mark slumped into a seat, breathing hard, eyes wide. "I can't believe it's really you," he said, voice trembling. All these years, I gripped his shoulder. "It's really me. We're here now. You're not alone anymore." Emily handed him a blanket. "You're safe now. We won't let anything happen to you." Robert glanced at us, eyes sharp. "Not safe yet. They'll pursue. We have 10 minutes to disappear into the forest roads. Any mistake, and it's over." Michael exhaled sharply. "We've waited 31 years for this. We're not letting them take it away now." I swallowed hard, heart pounding. "Mark, is there anyone you trust? Anyone who put you in hiding, who might still be active?" Mark shook his head, voice low. "No one, only me. And David. You, the family. That's it." Linda leaned forward, her hand on his arm. "You're home now. Nothing else matters. We've got you." The van moved swiftly through the winding roads, snow blurring past. Outside, shadows flitted, but we were faster. My mind raced. Every threat Robert had mentioned, every risk, every unknown enemy. But inside I felt a calm, a resolve. 31 years of grief had ended, replaced with a fierce determination. Mark was alive, and he was finally home. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the road, a shadow blocking our path. The brakes screeched. The van skidded, Robert swearing under his breath. I peered through the window, one of the attackers, desperate, trying to stop us. "Hold on," Robert shouted, maneuvering the van sharply into the trees. Snow sprayed everywhere. The pursuit intensified, heart in my throat. I clutched Mark and whispered, "You're safe. Just hold on." Minutes later, after what felt like an eternity, the forest thickened. The road narrowed. The headlights of the pursuers vanished behind us. Relief flooded me, almost collapsing my legs with exhaustion. Robert exhaled, tension leaving his body. "We've lost them for now. But we're not done. Mark needs to disappear again safely. You all need to remain quiet. No one outside this vehicle can know. Only then is he truly secure." Mark looked at me, tears in his eyes. "I never thought I'd see you again. Not like this." I swallowed, holding back my own tears. "It took 31 years, brother. 31 years, but we're together now. That's all that matters." Emily leaned over, hugging him tightly. "You're home, Uncle Mark. You're really home." Michael added, "Nothing else matters. We're done running, done hiding. We'll fix this. Together." Linda sat beside Mark, hand on his shoulder, eyes glistening. "The past can't hurt you anymore. You're safe now. We'll protect you. All of us." The armored van disappeared into the forest, headlights cutting a narrow path through the snow. Inside we sat together, exhausted but alive, hearts pounding, tears and relief mingling. 31 years of lies, secrets, and grief ended here in this moment. Mark whispered, voice shaking, "I never thought I'd see this night. I never thought I'd see family again." I held him close. "We're here, Mark. Always. No more secrets. No more hiding. You're home. That's all that matters." Outside, the snow fell silently. The world was quiet, finally, and for the first time in decades, 31 years of pain and loss felt like it could be replaced by hope, by family, by the knowledge that no matter the danger, we had each other, and that was stronger than any threat that lurked in the shadows.